This is the story of my family's journey. Rooted in the northwest of England, the highlands of Scotland, and the seacoast of Ireland, it is steeped in myth and legend. At its core, it speaks of faith, hope, and love. The Tyree clan resided in Drumkilbo, Perthshire, Scotland, for over 300 years. Their home was a gift from Robert the Bruce. They were Catholics who converted to Presbyterianism during the Reformation. In the mid-17th century, they left Scotland to start a new life in the Virginia colony. Generations would pass before my G3 grandfather ventured first to North Carolina, then into Tennessee. His son, Cyrus Hardy Tyree, along with his wife, Mary Elizabeth Dance, settled in the northwest corner of the state. The home they built in Gibson County remains in the family to this day. The Tyrees supported the Confederacy during the U.S. Civil War and were members of the Cumberland Presbyterian congregation. The next of my ancestors to arrive in America were from my mother's side. They were Irish famine immigrants. Stephen Hayes, my G2 grandfather, arrived in New York with his wife, Mary Walsh, in 1846. Stephen and Mary set out across the country. They sharecropped and had children along the way. The Hayes family settled in Buchanan County, Missouri, and were members of the $7, that's Seven Sorrows, Roman Catholic congregation in Easton, Missouri. My maternal G2 grandparents sailed from Drogheda, Louth, Ireland. Patrick and Margaret Murphy arrived and settled in New Orleans in 1848. Martin McAvoy, my maternal great-grandfather, also settled in New Orleans by way of Canada and Milwaukee. He sided and fought with the Union during the U.S. Civil War. He wed the Murphy's daughter, Mary Ann, my great-grandmother. Patrick and Martin and their families were Roman Catholic and attended Mass at St. Joseph Catholic Church in NOLA. In the early 1870s, my paternal great-grandfather, Robert Darville, emigrated from Liverpool, England, and arrived in Mississippi. He wed Kate Hales from Louisiana and settled in Macomb. The family attended worship at Felder United Methodist Church. I am the product of a mixed Catholic and Methodist upbringing. My parents met in the parlor of a boarding house located in LaGrange, Illinois, on a Sunday afternoon in the summer of 1942. They wed in the chapel at Love Field in Dallas, Texas, on June 14, 1945. The fourth of Hal and Mary's 5 offspring, I was born into this world 9 years and 3 months later. I was baptized, school, and attended Mass at St. Barbara's Parish in Brookfield, Illinois. I also worshiped with my father at the Methodist Church when he deemed it appropriate. This usually meant weddings and funerals. The memory of my grade school years are, for the most part, good. I love the rigor of Catholic ritual. I especially like the Gregorian chant and the earthy sweetness of frankincense as it burned in the censer during Mass on Christmas Day. Then there's the memory of my first communion, when 100 fellow second graders wore everything white on a Saturday morning in May. My dad's parents were in attendance. As the crowd congregated inside the church, a thunderstorm of biblical portent approached from the west. The sky became dark as night, and the wind drove rain through the open stained glass windows. At the time I thought, so this is what happens when Methodists enter a Catholic church. When I entered the 4th grade, I joined the boys' choir. This was something I'd dreamed of doing ever since my parish purchased 24 red-hooded choir robes, 12 for the girls, 12 for the boys. I thought it would be so cool to wear one. My pre-adolescent mind imagined waves of divine grace showering down on anyone who donned a robe rouge. I had to join the choir. I had to wear a robe. As it happened, the coolest part of choir was the singing. I was a competent soprano, but never good enough to sing solo. What I did get to do was travel to Chicago and meet with 300 other boys and girls from parishes all over the Chicago Archdiocese. I sang with boys and girls of all races at a benefit for Catholic Charities. The event occurred on stage in the Erie Crown Theater. Wow, did we sing? I don't know which was louder, our combined voice or the applause that followed. It was, and still is, a good and vibrant memory. During high school, I started to drift away from the church. At my parents' insistence, I'd attend CCD, that's the Confraternity of Christian Doctrine, 1 night per week, only to ditch Mass on Sundays. My daughter was baptized at St. Barbara's, but after we divorced, my ex-wife enrolled her in Lutheran catechism. She was ultimately confirmed a Lutheran. It wasn't until I met my second wife that I became acquainted with the Lutheran Church. Reverend Olmsted of Trinity Lutheran Church in Burr Ridge, Illinois, presided over our wedding, but it was only a formality. At that time, and for much of our marriage, I was not a regular church attendee, nor did I feel the need to become a part of a congregation. If you want to understand the reasons for my anger with God, just read the book of Job. After I'd had my fill, or perhaps had not been filled enough with secular life, that I knew something was missing, so I started attending service again. I credit Julie. Her maiden name is Schaefer. It's a German surname, and it means shepherd. How fitting that a shepherd's daughter led me back to the fold. Our son was baptized and confirmed Lutheran at Gloria Dei. He sometimes attends worship with us. For the most part, he usually has more important things to do. 7 years on, and Christianity is again the foundation of my spiritual life. I do not consider myself Catholic, Methodist, Lutheran, nor any other denomination. I find the word to be divisive. Jesus taught us to be inclusive, see Galatians 3:28, and that is good enough for me.